Hello and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan, which of course I didn't fix the text thing because we have two Alexes this time to reflect that. We'll not worry about that. We're talking about Gamescom this week. That's our week this time.
Good.
Having a good time talking about Gamescom. Everyone have some fun with Gamescom.
Would you like me to be honest or to
Yes.
fake it?
Yes. Like
I know that you were never excited for anything, Brett. It's okay.
Definitely never anything.
We're all aware of it.
My excitement only came after you told me, "Hey, do you want to fill on this week's podcast? We're talking about Gamescom," and I went, "Oh, that's happening. I guess I ought to catch up."
I just gotta learn what happened at Gamescom. Yeah, it's been an eventful week. I think, Brett, you might not agree with this because I think Gamescom does not play to your tastes.
It definitely doesn't.
In many ways, but this to me felt like the E3 replacement showcase that we haven't really gotten from everyone that was like outside of the big three: Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo. Even though we still haven't gotten Nintendo or Sony things of that caliber yet, but this felt a lot more in depth than I was expecting from this show. For the most part, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting play on everything this time because we actually got a good amount of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I will say, of all the things, this definitely was not sparse. There was a ton of stuff in opening night live, especially. It was just like, I know we'll get to it, but there were some announcements of things that just kind of made me go, "What am I listening to right now?"
What show is this?
Either super weird or just like I would even say like out of touch almost. But we'll get to those because we're gonna be running down the whole shebang.
So the way this is going to work, we're going to run down the entirety of opening night live, Jeff Keighley's Gamescom showcase, and then we'll talk about selected other things that are of interest to us. If we don't talk about something, we either missed it because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, or we tastefully do not care at this moment.
Honestly, a big shock. I don't know what I'll do without Wyatt talking about Jeff Keighley's kicks.
You know what? Jeff Keighley's kicks, I didn't pay attention to him this time. I wasn't in the kicks party. You know, it didn't feel like that big thing kick base going on. Just didn't feel on point this time. All right. Speaking of Gamescom opening night live, we got some weird stuff to start with. And I feel like this is one of those announcements you think is probably a little out of touch, Brett, and I'd probably agree with you, which is everything or everywhere. It's so confusing because I think everything is the game that came out a few years ago that everyone made all the jokes about the name being called Everything. Then this is Everywhere, which is we didn't get like a proper
sequel to it.
We didn't.
No,
we didn't get any gameplay for it.
This looks like Project Spark.
This looks like the most because again, it's just like CG trailer. This looks like the most almost like we will this is what we pitch to our big quadruple A publisher to tell them we're gonna make the best game ever. You could do this and you could do this and everybody gets to make their own story. It's like the most like buzzword filled like just like super vague game design terms over like some like environment CG of like people going around doing stuff. I don't know.
You're gonna have so many unfulfilled promises. You're not gonna believe it.
That's what it feels like. I can feel the promises being unfulfilled, and they're not even.
I'm looking at the website of Everywhere, and I'm already off put because it's a weird floating 3D model of Everywhere's name, with no description.
This is one of those games that it might not surprise me if we come back to in like a decade and go, "Hey, didn't they announce that?"
10 years ago?
It could also be. I'm surprised they aren't asking for funding because I feel like this is one of the things where it's just like, oh no, we won't take your money. And
this felt like a join our team trailer that we sometimes get of like people trying to hire. I'll give the pitch of this. So on the Everywhere website, tucked away in a little fact corner, what is Everywhere? Everywhere seamlessly blends gameplay, adventure, creativity, and discovery in an all-new multi-world gaming experience that redefines how players connect with one another and the digital world around them. This is meta.
Literally,
I
what does that
see.
mean? Like, actually, what does that mean?
None of these
buzzwords.
words
They
mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're starting to get to the point where I don't think there could be many more words describing.
They plan for
nothing
it
at
to
all.
be out in 2023. We'll see about that.
I'm
That
going with
seems
2033 for
remarkably
this one.
soon.
Yeah.
That seems very idealistic for an everywhere thing that this is. Yeah, not being negative on the game, just that I don't know. This pitch wasn't great to me.
Yeah.
It didn't sell it hard enough.
Yeah, because it's hard to be negative or positive on the game when you literally like don't know what it is yet. It's hard to give like a solid critique on any gameplay things when none of it was even spoken about. Like, is this like a MMO Minecraft where it's just like you can build everything in a world or whatever, or is it going to be like Dreams where you like are actually capable of making your own little games or whatever? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It could literally go
Huh.
either way, or it could just be some just open world game. It's literally like the way that it's described. It could be any of these things. So it's really hard to critique anything other than the buzzwords.
Yeah, that's definitely where I'm at with this. I just think it's not. The reason I think we're spending a lot of time talking about it is because this is a consistent problem in
Yes.
game shows of a trailer of an. I want to say this is a small indie team, but there's very little detail about what this team is like.
I think it's pretty small.
Supposedly it's around 300
I don't know.
people, but I don't know how many
Oh
of
my
those are working
God,
on
really?
on Everywhere and how many are not. Yeah, it's hard to see a lot of stuff here. It's just the kind of thing we keep seeing these types of things pop up and then never hearing from them again. So I just want to call them out now. I want to hear back from you next year. You say 2023, yes. I want to hear something. I don't need you to release in 2023, but I need you to tell me what's going on with the game and not disappear for 6 years.
Just an update.
We're sorry.
Speaking of a game that disappeared for 6 years, I'm going to skip forward a little bit because I do want to talk about Dead Island 2. Which,
God.
it's too perfect of a transition to not do it. Dead Island 2 shut up again.
It did.
So it was just
finally.
like last week that I thought to myself, there's no way this game is ever coming out.
And we got gameplay, we got CG trailer,
A release date,
which is soon, February. So
Wow.
I think the trailer was convincing. No UI to my knowledge, unless there's uncut gameplay available somewhere, which there might be. But the gameplay looked punchy. It looked solid. It looked like Dead Island, which I think is good because it didn't look like Dying Light, which was a concern that I had of it would just feel like Dying Light 2. And not anything against Dying Light 2. I love that combat, but Dead Island needs to have its own identity if it's going to sell anything, of being like the more Borderlands-y type of game. And I think we're still going to get that from the look at it. It seems a little bit more varied in terms of how crazy they're going to get with weapon types and whatnot. Very fantasy-esque. Just fun. Good to see.
You've lined yourself up for another transition here. Are you going to take it?
Am I going to take it, Alex? I don't know what I've lined myself up for with this. There's a lot of things that could fit that. Look, Randy Pitchford is walking on stage. It's something I very rarely want to think about.
He walked on stage and he said, like, "Are you guys ready for new Borderlands stuff?" And maybe like 3 people cheered. It was like really,
it was really funny, and you can tell they were cheering because of obligation. It's the confusion
they worked
of
on
like,
it or something.
Yeah, I do want a new Tales from the Borderlands. Do I want Randy Pitchford to announce it? Not really.
I don't want him to talk about anything ever again. If I can,
leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I am excited to play new Tales from the Borderlands. Not so excited about Randy Pitchford, I think is where I land in this mix-up. I do want to know more about it because I think the tone of the trailer that they put out was a very standard trailer. Like, I don't think anything that this trailer showed is going to tell me a lot about the game because it's very edited and put together to kind of fit that Borderlands trailer formula. That
it looked exactly like the rest.
Yep. So I don't think we're going to get more details about this. That's the same way they advertised Tales from the Borderlands 1. Because they just kind of gave it the Borderlands treatment, and then you play the game and it's way different. So I'm hoping
Really
this
good.
follows
I like
that.
the original.
Yeah. I think a lot of the same teams behind it, and it seems like a good starting point. The characters they showed looked interesting, so I'm intrigued. I would be more intrigued if Randy Pitchford didn't announce it was someone else, maybe from the development team. Maybe this is the time you can pull a voice actor on stage and just give it to someone that isn't Randy Pitchford, because he's not got the best of, I don't know, reputations right now.
In general.
The way that he carries himself, it's almost like he doesn't know that. Because, like,
and that's
how many
almost
times
more off-putting.
It is, because like how many times has like a Gearbox or like even like tangentially Borderlands related thing just been like him on like when he walked through the entire warehouse backstage area of the film that they were doing, and everyone was like,
"Hey, Randy,
like Randy,
don't be here right now."
And it's just like, dude, like no one likes you, and I don't think you understand that yet. But probably just put your name on the game and
it's like everyone's afraid to tell him, and he's not in tune enough to realize that the way he presents himself is not great. I don't know, it gives me Peter Molyneux energy, and that's not something I tend to like in my game developers.
The same person I've heard him referred to as.
Yeah. All right, let's circle back around to the next thing in this list, which is Dune Awakening. So Dune Awakening, I saw this trailer pop up. I was like, oh my god, this looks pretty good. For a CG trailer of a Dune thing that's implied to be an actual like third-person game, third-person, first-person, something like that, but a large-scale Dune game that isn't an RTS. Love that idea. Then the words "open world survival crafting MMO"
I
popped on screen.
I either pity or envy. I'm not sure what to think of, and this is me getting like very down to the minutia already, completely skipping past any of the broader things I could say about it. I'm interested to see what they do with the walk cycles when you're in the desert.
Because, because like the Dune walk is supposed to be a really specific motion. So
it'd be kind of funny if you had to like do a whole like
do it manually, like it's a normal walk cycle.
You get to play the game. Here's what you do. You have to play the game with the DDR dance pad.
Yes.
Incredible.
This would probably be the first.
There'll be like big sections where you don't have to use it. But
I would love that so much. Yeah, I'm split on this because it's developed and published by Funcom, who developed and published Conan Exiles, which is a very good survival crafting server-based game. So I think this could be good. Whether or not it's gonna feel like a Dune game,
that's my biggest.
I feel like it's gonna feel like Ark or Elix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because this might just feel like Conan, but in a desert with Dune thematics, which is kind of already Conan.
Yeah, it is. Much fewer palm trees.
Yeah, I'm just really, really curious how this is gonna feel.
Yeah,
because I think it's super hard to tell.
You really can't tell.
Hopeful, like we've seen so little that I really don't have much to go on, but I'm eager to see more.
And at least this team has experience creating these games, and they know the pitfalls. That's, I think, the big thing, is they know what not to do. So I think there's a good chance here that this comes out and is legitimately good. Whether or not it's like riddled with microtransactions and free-to-play trappings, we'll see. Conan Exiles isn't free-to-play, so I don't think this is going to be free-to-play, but you never know.
I think they would have mentioned that if it was.
You'd think
but
that.
We'll just see.
You would.
We'll just see.
Many times that isn't what happens.
Who knows? Maybe it's one of those
cautiously
good old
optimistic
MMOs that becomes free to play.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, we got a new PlayStation controller.
This is another one of those things.
Wow.
Where Jeff Keighley, I think most of the fault with my opinion of some of these things feeling like out of touch.
Keighley hyped this up.
Yes, purely falling on Jeff Keighley's shoulders, or perhaps his sneakers, where he's just like, I am absolutely honored to announce this fantastic new product coming to you from our friends at Sony for the PlayStation 5. And I'm like, oh,
well, because he
right.
first goes to everyone in the audience and is like, hey, audience, do you like PlayStation? Do you want to hear something from Sony? And everyone's like, yeah, we want to hear something from Sony. Probably expecting, I don't know, God of War or something.
A game? Like a video game? And they just, 30 seconds of, like, super dramatic, like, Final Fantasy level music for a, like, controller, like, rotating on the screen and, like, pieces coming off of it. And it's just like, man, all right, that's going to be, like, $150 for a controller that I can take the thumbstick out of and switch it around. Awesome. Like, I don't understand. Like, show it. Like, that's the thing. Like, this is the place where you would show, like, hardware things
just don't
like that.
Hype
like,
it up that much.
Exactly. Yeah. Like,
they could have definitely left that just as, like, a booth on the floor of Gamescom, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and it is, like, back triggers on the back and a few other things, but it's essentially Sony's answer to the Microsoft Elite controller, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I've got one.
Really weird placement of this trailer. Super strange.
Maybe don't treat two thumbsticks like the second coming of Christ.
It was so dramatic. It really didn't feel like it deserved it.
I'm caught up on, because they haven't announced, as far as I know, they haven't announced a price for this anywhere yet. It's just been announced.
It's going to be $150, $250. It's going to be super expensive.
It's going to be insanely expensive, and because this needs to be brought up, this is coming right at the same time as the price increase everywhere except for the United States of the console that it's for, the PS5.
Which is already the more expensive option.
Yes, by
pretty much everywhere.
Like a considerable margin in certain places, especially. But like, I think the PS5 with a disc in it in Japan is like 60,000 yen now, more than that, which is like over $600 in American dollar. Like it's crazy, and it's just like, why everywhere? Why even in Japan,
but America,
but not here? Like, they're already so hard to get. It's like their justification for it is like, man, this economy sure is bad, and it's like, yeah, you're not helping, you assholes.
Microsoft and Nintendo have released statements about that, saying, yeah, no, we're big enough to deal with it and not,
we don't plan to do that.
Downfall.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. It's just weird. Another wacky Sony decision. I think that, like, if you didn't believe it before, I think it is very much safe to say now that they've, like, the place they want in the market is to be like that, like, very premium, very like how we were talking about a while ago, how the Sony, like, first
they want to be
games,
like a status symbol.
Yeah, they want you to feel like an expensive like movie.
Caviar of consoles.
Yeah, exactly. Which is weird because, like, I don't know. This is like the same like like on the PS3 you could play like Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball, and that's not that's not, I think, what people would consider like the Cadillac of video games. Like, I don't know. It's just it's weird. It's
like the Hooters of video games.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, this is such a weird situation. I think they're really wanting market share in US.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, they don't care.
I just feel like it was a weird time for them to announce that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, while everybody else is hyping up their games, they come in and go, actually, also, you're gonna have to pay a couple more $100.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
and
know.
this also
furtively whispering to you.
This is right after the UK is getting ready to sue them over their things costing too much money, and now they're making their things cost even more money.
Yep.
Which is just weird. I don't know.
Decision.
They're like setting themselves up for disaster. I don't think they'll be actually put in trouble. I think we talked about this last week or something. I don't think anything will actually happen, but it's just like, do you want people to like you? Do you want
this is hurting?
Not really.
Like,
we want money.
I feel like the consequences of this are going to be delayed. Like, we're not going to see anything now, but Game Pass might get a weird number of subscriber increases in the next few years, and things like that. Switch might have a resurgence of sales or something, which, as it tends to do. I'm just expecting something like that where people are now looking elsewhere. And, like, if I didn't already have a PS5, I'd be a little bit miffed about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this is a very strange decision, especially timing-wise. Like, I get increasing the price of your stuff, but usually you want to couple that with a new thing coming out.
Yeah, usually they have like like the slim version or like the elite version or whatever. Like it's more powerful, it has more memory, like something to warrant it, but it's just the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's a price increase. It's not like a new model. Yeah. And you can have a new model that's just the same thing that looks a little bit different.
That's
and people won't care. And then just call it a new thing and up the price a little bit. I feel like that would have been the move to make here and not this. Like this weird...
Or they could have just hit it too, you know? They could... Which is basically what you're saying, but, you know, they could just be like, look, our new model has twice the storage capacity, which is, you know, something that is literally, like, probably no cost at all to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving past Sony's wacky world, we saw more Callisto Protocol and an actual bit of uncut gameplay that looked very good. I was very happy with this. I think this game's shaping up really well. I'm excited to play it. That's most of the thoughts on this.
Yeah, I for someone who I've never played, unfortunately, any of the other Dead Space games before, I would like this to be my first.
It's hitting the right time. You're feeling the Dead Space appeal.
Yeah, I want more physics gunplay, like using a laser cutter on someone's limbs in a game like that.
And the guns look super punchy in this. They had a lot of physicality to them, which I love. The sound was great. So
yeah,
excited about that.
December 2nd, I just looked up. I was wondering if we had a release date already, but December 2nd is when it's coming out.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about Callisto again next time Wyatt is on, because he is very excited about this game.
What a wonderful holiday game.
I'm expecting this game might be a Games Club game when it comes around, because I feel like it won't be too long, which is like the ideal thing for a Games Club game, is we don't want it to be too long. That was the killer of Cyberpunk. That game just took us months to finish.
That was the killer of Cyberpunk.
Oh, the killer of us doing a Cyberpunk podcast episode.
Okay.
The killer of Cyberpunk was the horrid state that it released it. All right. I want to talk next about, I think to me, this is the most confusing thing in this show. The Lords of the Fallen.
Again, Jeff Keighley is like, I am honored. The power of God was given unto me to present to you this, the holy scripture turned into code that is the Lords of the Fallen? Like he was like
this looked like almost, I was thinking maybe Lord of the Rings, maybe something weird going on here, because the trailer, great, really good CG trailer.
No,
but I was not thinking Lords of the Fallen.
I think he literally said the words, I know everyone's been asking for it. Which I have to say is one of the most incorrect statements I've heard in a long time. He's got some
different friends than me, then.
I know.
And notably, what's even weirder to me is, like, I would understand this if it was the same development team wanting to create this as a passion project.
It's not?
It's a different developer.
I thought it was the same people.
No, the people that made Lords of the Fallen are working on Lies of P.
Oh my
god. A game that I'm almost too scared to play because puppet phobia.
God.
Actually, it might be Steel Rising. It might not be Lies of P. It's one of the Souls-likes coming out.
Those are very interchangeable. They look very similar.
I forgot they were different.
I don't blame you. I have only ever heard Lords of the Fallen spoken about either in like, this is haha funny bad, we don't talk about it, or like the most 6 out of 10 experience ever, which I think is what it has. Most places that have an out of 10 review score is a 6 out of 10. I don't like again, I'm just kind of like at the whimsy of what the people I watch and listen to and my friends talk about. I don't think I've ever actually heard anyone enjoy the first Lords of the Fallen game.
I mean, like, it being the first like Souls-like ripoff, it was okay.
Was it
when
really?
It came out? Yeah, it was like the one that started the trend.
Oh wow.
So it's okay. It like, if you go back and play it now, and even then, like, it's not nearly as good as a Souls game.
No,
it's
not
very
by far.
clunky, but it is remarkably
like
playable.
It's playable, yeah, but not like it's not some cult classic that's gonna blow your pants off. And now it's more accessible for everyone. It's just it has a "the" in front of it now with a CGI
Which is
trailer.
so confusing.
Oh yeah, Jeff even said that in the thing. He was like, "Yeah, I guess they're dropping the 2. They're just calling it the Lords of the Fallen." And it's like, all right, well that.
Yeah, I was like, I thought it was literally the same name, and I was like, you haven't had enough of a series to go back and, God of War.
And just to re-correct myself, Steel Rising is Spiders, who made Greedfall. So, Surge developers are not working on either of these. I think they are working on something else that was revealed this show, but I want to make sure because
they're
not
Deck 13.
positive. Yeah, Atlas Fallen.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They're working on Atlas Fallen, which is bizarre because Deck 13 made Lords of the Fallen. And now we're getting the Lords of the Fallen, which is by studio Hexworks, which hasn't made anything else.
That feels like a good starter game for a developer.
Notably, they are very experienced. It's a team made up of like veterans from other teams, so it's not like an inexperienced team. But there is no information about them. Like this is the website I was presented with felt like a startup website.
Can I derail this for a second to say something about the original Lords of the Fallen?
Yeah, go for it.
Apparently, that came out for iPhone and Android.
What?
It looks like
I believe it. I believe it.
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah, just bizarre sequence of events happening here to have the Lords of the Fallen. It's just such a strange thing. Why use this IP? Why not just call it like a new thing? Because it doesn't look like Lords of the Fallen at all. It's got a weird soul lantern.
It takes place more than 1,000 years after the events of the first game. So like completely disconnected from a game that no one played.
Exactly, different game at that point.
And it is like it's a single player game that's along the lines of Lords of the Fallen. It says 5 times bigger. Neat. Lords of the Fallen wasn't a particularly long game, so that's not that big of a flex.
I mean, I'll give them credit. The title sounds cool. So I guess maybe if that's all they cared about.
I just sticking the V in front of it and not doing Lords of the Fallen 2 or something. I feel like if you want to grab the Lords of the Fallen fan base, you need to put a 2 behind it, right? Don't make it the.
There's so many other things they could do too. Lord of the Fallen, that sounds even more unique. Great. Similar but more unique.
Something, yeah.
Fallen
Lords.
I don't know.
That.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options
like
here.
The Second Coming or something, if you want to do like a subtitle instead of a
Lords
number,
of the Fallen, Steel Rising of P.
Steel Rising, yes. God, why do all these games sound like the same game?
This is bizarre. This is one of the most confusing announcements I've ever heard. Yeah, sure, I'll play it.
You got Ryan, guys. Great job, Hexworks.
I played the original Lords of the Fallen, so I feel like I owe it to the IP.
Oh.
You may be the only person on the planet
to know what bizarre thing is happening here. This is just so strange.
I'm not saying the game's gonna be bad. It's just weird.
Yeah,
just why? Just why? Why is it called Lords of the Fallen? Why are we using that IP?
On this little blurb I'm reading here, it says they will also have the option to invite a second player to join their adventure in uninterrupted online co-op. That sounds cool. A new feature for the franchise.
What?
A new feature for the franchise?
The franchise.
We're on game 2. I don't think this.
I don't think Lords of the Fallen
has
enough anything to be considered a franchise. And the other thing I saw this, I was like, my biggest thought in my head was Mortal Shell 2. When this trailer was playing, because it looks like Mortal Shell, which I'd be down for a Mortal Shell 2. I would be more excited for that than this.
I would, because at least Mortal Shell is at least like a 7 out of 10.
I'm still relieved Brett didn't choose that for a game.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I already beaten it. I'm not gonna. I don't want to hurt you that much. You need to. Maybe by the time we get to Ninja Gaiden 3, I'll be that punished.
You'll be
to
that
make Mortal Shell.
All right.
You know what? I'm still playing Ninja Gaiden 1, so maybe I mean,
you're
I'll
almost
play
done.
it. I don't know if I'll like it or not, but I'll certainly play it.
All right.
All the way through.
That's it. That's the Lords of the Fallen. We are definitely gonna talk about this again because this is my personal nightmare. It's Lords of the Fallen sequel. It's such a surreal thing to happen. It's by a different developer. This is just like a perfect storm of confusion to me, and you can tell the audience was also just super confused.
Oh, we have the Ryan's Nightmare episode if that ever happens.
Is all just the Lords of the Fallen. Moving Out 2 got announced. Moving Out's a little fun game where you move things around like a puzzle game in co-op.
Great. First one was
fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this. The art looks great. That's it. That's Moving Out. All right, Hogwarts Legacy got another trailer, and the big selling point of this trailer is the idea of, hey, there's multiple paths in this game. You can be a dark wizard or not a dark wizard. Cool. I like that. That's the extent of my thoughts on this until we actually play the game. I like that there's an option, and they had the idea of, oh, you can learn these unforgivable curses and become a dark wizard. And I'm like, okay, that's neat. I wouldn't do it.
I like that you can.
I like that the option's there.
Feels like a second or third playthrough thing that I...
Yeah, that's like down the line, a couple years, play it again. Got to see the route where you end up murdering everybody.
One thing I didn't see that I'd be interested to see if there was, but I think they would have said if there was in the trailer. Like if there's the physical differences type thing that go along with it, if you become a little bit more Voldemort-y.
Oh yeah, that would be.
I could see that happening. Although I wonder because I'm not sure if this is going to be you go Dark Wizard and is it Renegon Paragon of Renegade
Paragon system
Paragon
type thing?
Words are hard. Of Mass Effect where you are getting you're trying to do the same goal just through whether or not you're doing it through friendship and the power of love and all that, or you're doing it through the power of big weapons. Is that what we're going here, or is it actually you join the villains and are now the evil big boss type thing?
It depends too, because I feel like a lot of games don't have the balls to effectively undo character creation aspects by sawing your nose off or the other things that come with
wild.
Voldemort.
I would love to.
It depends.
Bizarrely strange thing for a primarily aimed at kids franchise. So
yeah. It would be interesting for them to do that, because the only game I can think of that does that is, of all things, Daemon Ex Machina, because you could choose to remove your legs and have them be replaced with robot ones instead, just permanently. Which is weird, but it looks cool, and I feel like more things need to double down in that regard, if they even want to do it. I don't know.
It does look very cool. All right, we saw some Dying Light 2 DLC. Anything else to add, Alex?
No.
Okay. I saw you go for it. I was like, you want to fit something in before we move on?
No. I regretted saying it as it came out of my mouth.
Great. Dying Light 2 DLC is coming along. That game is fun, so I'm excited to see what the reception to this is. Then we got another weird trailer. So, Tortuga, I don't know if this is one of the trailers you were going to talk about, Brett, is a lower budget, looks like a tactical pirate RPG. I'm down for that. But there was this really big, sweeping shot at the end where this pirate dude leans over and you want to join my crew? It's in Tortuga. And the title drop happens. And I was like, Tortuga's an actual place. It doesn't have the gravitas
that
they
the
think it
mythical
did.
land of Tortuga.
He said it like it was going to be a franchise or something. I'm like, it's just Tortuga?
Oh.
I just
maybe
remember that
people would recognize it
out.
from Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know.
It's in Cincinnati, Ohio.
The land of Chicago, Illinois.
They have to pick Tortuga because otherwise you're getting weird spots where pirates were active that are just places people go to vacation. They'll be like, the Florida Keys, or something that doesn't have the weight.
I just thought it stood out as really funny. I think this is a neat looking game. You got a bunch of different ship types. You customize your ship and you do some sailing and destroy things. to become a great pirate. And that's all. That's all we ever want from pirate games.
I'm leaning towards it because I think, as I've told, I think at least a couple of you guys, I've been hankering to watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again for some reason, regardless of whether or not they're good. I've just been feeling the need.
Good.
They start good, and I think the one of the newer ones is meant to be good, but I'm not sure. Who knows? You know, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean podcast spinoff is in order.
Finally.
Yeah, Tortuga. I don't know. It looks interesting. We'll see how this progresses. Then we saw Marauders. Marauders kind of surprised me. I thought this looked pretty rad. It kind of looked dark tidy, and it's a first-person shooter. It looks kind of co-op-y, where you go through and you raid a thing with up to 3 other players.
Looks kind of
craft
like
weapons and gear.
That game that's Russian and has guns.
Tarkov.
Boy, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Space Tarkov.
Looks cool. I like the look of this. The aesthetic was fun, but
give it a try.
We don't have a lot of details, so I hope it's not as hardcore as Tarkov, because I think that market is pretty nailed down to Tarkov at this point.
I don't know if you guys have seen any gameplay. There's a ton of gameplay out there because I think it might even be in early access right now.
Mm-hmm.
It looks pretty Tarkov-y. Not quite as intense, but
what game?
Sorry, Marauders.
Oh, Marauders? I didn't know it was already in early access. Yeah, looks fun.
I don't know if it's in early access, but I've definitely seen some pretty extended gameplay that have been given out to like YouTubers.
Yeah, it's incoming soon, but this does look very cool.
It's
got nice space theme maps.
Apparently, a closed beta.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm very interested in this. It looks like there's an actual flying around thing you can do or something.
To get in and out of the levels, you have to like fly in and out with your ship.
Brad.
And I hope, again, I'm the same with you, Ryan. I hope, usually I feel like negatively is the way that these sort of communities view this term, but I hope it's more casual and not, I want to rip parts of my body off after losing.
Oh, yeah.
Like Tarkov is.
Because I think there's a huge market of people like you and I that like the idea of these games, but not actually playing them.
Yeah, I've bounced off a lot of things that have tried this
too.
Before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, at the same time, like using like a well rod in space is just like so wacky and cool, and like the classic looking gas mask and stuff.
Yep,
but I don't know.
It looks nice and smooth. If that's actual movement in game and not like a cinematic of you're entering this place or you're boarding this ship cinematic type thing.
All right, now it's time for the Gamescom intermission to talk about Destiny 2. Because we also had the Destiny 2 showcase go on this time. And look, I've been very vocally against many of the decisions that Bungie has made in regards to Destiny 2. They're reverting at least the biggest one of those decisions, which is very good. No more expansion sunsetting is a huge deal, at least for me, because to me that's them saying, okay, we're actually going to like put the effort into the engine to make sure this game can run with all the content, rather than siphoning out the last year of content constantly.
And they also said that
that's awful.
They briefly mentioned it, but they didn't elaborate on it. That they were like trying to create better ways to catch people up in the story.
Yeah,
at least. I don't know
that's
whether
the big
that's
problem.
going to come with a single player. Okay, here's the Red War campaign bit, which I think would be the most preferable option, or a storyline, or a better new light experience for people. Which
there's just so many issues with that new player route into Destiny. Of like, I'm lucky in that I was on the tail end of people that played through the content that is now cut, so I'm at least caught up with what is currently in the game. Most people probably aren't, and I think that's going to continue to impact Bungie's ability to get new players unless they have a solution for that. So
I missed out on seeing if this is true or not, but one of you guys might have caught it. So are they bringing back the content they've already removed, or are they just keeping all the... Okay.
There was no confirmation of that, which probably means lean on no, but
they mentioned it by word to get a better new player experience / in on the game, but they didn't show or elaborate on anything like that.
And the thing I do know is that they've talked about how their engine rework means they would have to redo content. It's not like a one-to-one port. They have to remake the entire like script of it. The art still works, but everything else they have to redo the gameplay side of it, which
Interesting.
is a gargantuan endeavor to do for the entire campaign.
Which one of the things that people noticed was back in Season of the Haunted when they brought the Leviathan back. It is the first area that you go into. I forget the name of it. It starts with a C, like the Castellum, I think. It is smaller than it is in the raid, and that's because they had to completely remake the map from scratch because of the engine reworks that they've already done.
Yeah. So I lean on the side of it's probably going to be some other way to catch people up. Some in-game thing that isn't a full campaign, which is unfortunate because I think Forsaken especially is a shame to lose. I know Wyatt is not as big on that campaign, but at least like gameplay-wise, Forsaken's really fun.
Oh yeah.
And I would love to have those set pieces back in the game, but it's hard to have.
I want to hunt down a murderer on a bike.
It was just a cool idea, and it was executed pretty well. So I'm sad that it's gone, and hopefully it comes back at some point.
Aside from the changes that they're doing, they also announced Lightfall and the season that is currently dropped, and along with Lightfall, the new subclass abilities, and the existence of the new mobility option, the grappling hook.
Hey Wyatt, Destiny 2 now has grappling hook for everyone.
Well, it will this February, but it's going to have a grappling hook. It is going to look so good because they showed it off with the physics. They showed it off in older content, so it's not just a location-locked thing. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in Crucible matches to really screw with people.
And it's usable regardless of your class, too. It's not like a single class launch thing. It's for everyone, which is great.
Class. I thought you were talking about subclass.
I suspect it might also be subclass agnostic, because otherwise it feels... I think everyone would just play the grappling hook class. I didn't know that, too.
One problem with Titanfall 2 is that the grappling hook class is the most fun. I never played anything else.
I'm never going to play anything else.
If it's not, they're going to have to rework those other subclasses again to give them some funky mobility or something
like that.
In addition to that other content, the other quality of life things that they touched on were you now have loadout options, so you don't have to go to DIM or Destiny Item Manager, which is an out-of-game thing. They're focusing more on the social aspect by now letting you matchmake for raids and 6-player activities and things like that. And there's also a new social thing at the end of said activities. What was the accommodation system?
Yeah.
I think it's accommodations. Yeah, where you can give people thumbs up. They're a very good leader. They bring the damage. This person is the designated ad clear junkie.
Yeah, I think this looked good. Lightfall, the expansion that's coming in February, looks impressive. It visually super striking art style. The new subclasses look great. Love the idea of it being a more urban vertical area than the other zones. That seems very fun.
I like that it looks super different, because I feel like occasionally Destiny can sort of fall into that, wow, this area looks like the last 10 areas I've been in.
Yeah, they all look good, but they look the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see some more color and more lights that aren't just the very shades of green.
Which looks exactly like what we're getting in Neomuna.
Yep.
Neomuna. The new
looks good.
The new city we go to on Neptune.
All right, moving on from the Destiny 2 zone back into Gamescom with Sonic Frontiers.
Do we have to go back?
Man, I'm so ready for this game to come out and to see this. I am sure there's going to be a very vocal group of people that love it, and then a very vocal group of people that hate it. I just want to know how big the middle area is going to be. Is this game going to be is it a 4, a 6, or an 8? I don't know.
I thought this game had potential, and then I saw some gameplay, and I went, oh, yeah, that looks like a Sonic game.
That's the thing, is that it is very extremely true that if you do not like Sonic games, you probably not like the Sonic game. And if you have been playing Sonic games since you were able to move your fingers, then you will probably like it. And there is no like in between almost at all from any of the sources that I've seen or people that I've talked to. They've all been like, "Oh yeah, no, I haven't. I only like the 2D Sonics, and this looks like Sonic Adventure. I don't." Or Sonic Adventure 2 is the greatest game ever made, and I play it 3 times every single year, and I'm going to pick this up immediately and play it 3 times every year. Also,
the villain in this game looks like Techno Whipped Cream.
Welcome to Sonic.
And that's the thing, is not... I don't think it... Well, I was going to say I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks kind of bad. But it doesn't look like... From their first trailer, I thought it had the tone of like, this is going to be like a really different Sonic game.
It's an engine where the lighting is nice.
And then I was like, oh, this is Sonic Adventure, but the grass looks weirder.
Pretty much. That is my takeaway as well.
Yeah. All right, moving on from Sonic Frontiers, because I know we're going to talk about it again when it comes out.
Oh, yeah.
No way not to. We have Under the Waves, which is another one of the like random games that showed up that I thought looked really fun. You delve under the water in this cool looking little narrative exploration game, and you got like a little submarine you drive around.
A little bit more narrative heavy than Subnautica is the
vibe. And it looks like this doesn't look like a crafting game. This looks like an actual like exploration focused. I don't know, maybe we'll get some like dark stuff, because there's some things here that look almost like monstrous.
Dream helped on this game, but
they're
didn't
publishing
make
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a...
They said they allowed them access to talents and motion capture and that kind of thing. So Quantic Dream was involved in development, but probably not actually conceiving the game or anything. They were just helping get it to release.
That's probably as much as I want Quantic Dream involved.
Yes,
yeah.
For that reason, and that it's almost similar to the Sonic game scenario, where you either like the Quantic Dream games or you absolutely despise them.
I don't hate the games. It's just like there's been some weirdness around that developer lately.
David Cage is a weird individual.
Yeah. He's super weird, but also at the same time, like, it's one of those things where they have already said that they're working on like 3 other projects. One of them being that huge Star Wars game. They're not in a place to be like helping a bunch of studios right now. It feels like.
No, this sounds like a fancy way of saying we let them come in our studio and use our motion capture.
I think that's exactly what it means. They're probably letting them use the parts of development that none of the Quantic Dream stuff is near able to use right now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. They're like, here, nobody's in the Foley room today. You want to use that?
Yeah. All right. Moving past that, we saw Goat Simulator 3 again. I don't know. This looks fun. I think that's about the extent of my thoughts on this. You got a little open world sandboxy thing.
You know how I am with physics. I love them. I love what's the not soft body physics? That's what. No, hang on. Ragdoll, I think is the
ragdoll physics.
The term, yeah.
This looked entertaining. It's got more of a. It looks like there are more objectives to do in this, and it's a little bit more directed than original Goat Simulator. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Is you do a little bit more questy type stuff that leads you to the crazy physics things that happen. So I'm excited to see what the depth of this game looks like and how crazy it gets.
I think another big up is some of the games that we've played for Games Pass, a couple of times the humor we think doesn't or isn't going to age well or hasn't aged well. I feel like Goat Simulator is pretty solid in its staying power.
A ragdoll goat is always funny.
Yeah.
At least a little bit, yeah.
It's always gonna have a little bit of it's got like you can get one out of me. When it happens, and the rest of the humor is what drives it forward. So I think this will be fun. All right, we saw Return to Monkey Island. It looks good. They announced pre-orders, which give you a single item called horse armor that does literally nothing.
Oh my god!
I didn't see that.
It's an interesting visual style to go along with it.
I like the visual
this
style. Somehow that's controversial. I know there's been people who didn't.
People keep complaining. I think this game looks great.
I literally don't understand what the complaint is about.
I don't think it's bad. I just thought it was a weird departure from what it usually looks like, 3D or 2D.
It's been like 20 years.
Yeah,
they're allowed to have a departure.
I don't know what I thought it would look like. I didn't think
And
it was.
even
No, I
then, I think this
understand.
is still pretty along what I expect from a Monkey Island game. Like, I don't know. I think this is just such a weird thing that people keep complaining about, is this art style, and I don't see the problem.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's controversial. I mean, I get going, oh, that's different than before, but I think it looks great. I don't understand why there's any
Because
controversy.
the old ones are pixel art. That's how far we got.
They weren't gonna return to pixel art. Not that
Return to
pixel art
Monkey
is
Island.
bad, but
It's just such a strange hill to die on.
Exactly.
You know what? The only thing I do hope about it is that it, because I played the 3 Monkey Island games. I wanted to undo the theme park ending, or ignore it and go along with just continue the pirate shenanigans.
I think that's what this is.
Okay.
This is the pirate shenanigans one. You can look it up. There's more details, but Monkey Island's had a few creators over the course of it, or like lead developers. This is one of the ones that worked on, I believe, the original 3 games and not the rest of them. So there's like a weird
it's
thing where they're not
penned
treating
by
certain things as
series
real.
originators. So I would
Yeah.
assume these
Because there was another one that wasn't super along the lines of the other games, which I haven't played, so I don't have a lot of other information about this. But yeah, it wasn't handled super well, to my knowledge, and like some people liked it, some people didn't, but it's just, this is not those developers. Those aren't the people heading this project, and so it's not going to follow that line of thought. I'm not sure if that's the theme park one you're talking about, Alex, or not, but that's the general outlook on this. All right, then we saw Moonbreaker.
Yeah.
This is the
This-
game from the Subnautica devs.
This might be.
This is from Subnautica devs?
This
My
is from the
most hyped
Subnautica
thing?
games. This
Wow.
is my most hyped thing
Okay.
because all of a sudden they revealed that it's a sci-fi turn-based mini-based tabletop inspired tactics game with Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
Which
Every
who
single
is
thing they said
my
about this
current
game.
favorite author. Wild, just to show up here. I
Also-
didn't expect this. Looks fun.
Not to turn this into a fantasy book podcast.
Yeah.
But Brandon Sanderson has like 5 or 6 books
Yeah, he
coming
always
out
does.
this year. Has he slept this year?
Nobody understands how he does it.
Maybe.
He is,
Huh.
you know, I'm sure he's the reason that George R. R. Martin is the way that he is. Sanderson just takes all his energy
Yeah.
and writes everything in place of him. So
One more thing about Moonbreaker here, though. I'm curious, excited. They showed off that you can paint all the models yourself.
Oh yes.
this is
That looks cool.
really, really designed to be a digital like miniatures game. It's not.
Yeah, it's
That's the like
Music
first and
is beautiful
foremost
for
thought
it,
here.
Too. Oh.
And Alex, you know what this reminded me of?
which Alex.
Dimension 20. Oh, sure, both of you. Dimension 20, it's a tabletop RPG show. They did a season called Starstruck Odyssey where they're doing like space things. This looks like that. It looks like Starstruck. That's the biggest vibes I'm getting from this is Starstruck, and that's a very good compliment. It was also a comic series a long time ago. That's very
And a
good.
play.
So, yeah, Starstruck is the vibe I'm getting here, and that's a very good thing. I'm really curious as to what the type of gameplay Moonbreaker is going to have will be. It's clear that it's going to have like some single player components. It's going to have some kind of like turn-based competitive thing. But I would like for this to have some like solid single player offerings, and I have to imagine it will if Brandon Sanderson is involved. I don't think you hire a author to co-create your game and not have things that showcase their ability to write a setting. And it feels like in multiplayer that would suffer a little bit. So I hope there is like a single player side of this game. I believe there will be,
Subtitle.
but something a little bit more in depth than just, you know, a single skirmish or something.
Its subtitle is Many Ways to Play. Oh.
I just love the energy I was getting from this. Is this team super excited about this game?
Oh
And
yeah.
people are concerned that they're going from Subnautica, which is a first-person survival game, to this. Their first game was a first-person shooter with
Yeah.
RTS elements.
I'm not
So-
concerned because it looks like they love this game.
Yeah, it looks like I don't think this team wants to make the same thing twice, which is probably why Subnautica Below Zero is not as good as the first one. So yeah, I think their excitement is very much showing here. Okay, moving on. Friends versus Friends. This is another odd one. The trailer was a like cinematic, cool, fun CG trailer that showed like, oh, you have cards, and then you shoot your friends in the head. I got the idea. The gameplay looks wild. I don't understand what's going on here. I'm sure if I played it, I probably would get a handle on it, but it looks insane from the images that we've seen.
Ooh,
so
nice Borderlands-esque shader style while having the art be more cartoony.
Yeah, it looks good. I just want to know how this feels to play because, I mean, we know one game successfully did the card-based first-person shooter thing well. Neon White has done very well for itself, so maybe this game will also do it well. It just looks wild because it's like a online 1v1, 2v2 thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the Xbox original game that did this. It was like a third-person card-based multiplayer combat game that still has like a really small, like super dedicated community. But I remember the developers for that were like, I want to create the feeling of how like okay, you go to like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament and you play Yu-Gi-Oh, but you just ultimately, you just feel like you're putting cards down on the table. I want to make an experience that you feel like Yu-Gi-Oh does in the show, where it's just like you summon a fireball that just obliterates the guy in front of you or whatever. And I'm not a huge fan of card-based things, but that's just exactly the attitude that I would want it to be approached with, because that just makes it sound cool. And it feels like this game being like multiplayer PvP focused kind of could have the same exact kind of energy. I know a handful of people I know are going to like absolutely eat this game up and kick my ass when I try to play it with them, but it looks like fun. It's weird, but I hope that things like this kind of become more popular, because that one, I wish I could remember that original Xbox game's name, but it's such a cool idea and I want to see more of it because it's just weird.
Hey, that's why I liked Lost Kingdoms. Lost Kingdoms rad. You get to throw your cards down and summon monsters. Yeah, I'm super down for this. I hope it's good. All right, moving on to The Lies of P. This is another big one.
It looks like a Soul-like with the storytelling of Nier.
Yes.
This
is also the worst name
cool.
ever conceived.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird name.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it before.
We have. I have no opinion on the name. I think it's fine. I think there could be a better name, but I don't find it as aggressively annoying as Returnal.
Oh, you find that annoying?
I have a thing on one-word names. Returnal's not as bad as some other things, but one-word nonsense names I don't like. The only reason I like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is because you have Metal Gear Rising before the Revengeance.
Yeah, and at least it's like silly on purpose, it feels like.
Yeah, every time I hear a name like that, I can't help but laugh. I think it's very funny. So
you also have a chainsaw sword in Lies of P, so
yes, you do.
I'm for it.
I keep seeing stuff about this game, like a lot, and I don't know. I'm just sort of
Yeah,
it looks
like it could be good, but I'm just sort of.
It looks like Bloodborne, but with like a slightly different, more mechanical skin on it, rather than like the beasts that Bloodborne has, which I think is fine. I think the Souls-like, cursed word, but that's the name of the genre now, I guess.
Look,
market is like, it's pretty oversaturated because there are just like a lot of things in it that are just not very good.
I'm gonna take a risk here and say I don't think this actually looks like that much of a Souls-like.
It has like,
I think it's got all the mechanics of a Souls-like, but when I see gameplay of this game, all I can think about is Devil May Cry 5, and that excites me to no end.
Oh,
because this has like Devil May Cry level combat with a trick arm that you use.
Yeah.
And it's reminding me immensely of what it looks like in Devil May Cry to fight things.
I guess Souls-like isn't necessarily the
this
right
game.
words.
Well, they
but I
call it
felt
a
like
Souls-like.
definitely-
Like, Souls-like is
Oh,
on their Steam
yeah.
page,
okay,
so
never mind.
Souls-like
Then I
is
thought-
the right word, but I think the combat here does not remind me of Souls-like. It reminds
I thought
me of
the-
what looks like a slower Devil May Cry.
I thought
Boy,
the
the
movement,
UI
but then also especially, the lighting and set design for it,
Yeah,
the environment art for it is very
the UI and the
drab
level
in an
design could
interesting,
literally
intricate way.
looks like this could be like a Bloodborne mod.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
how muddy the term Souls-like is for a genre,
Yeah.
when literally the definition of it might as well be there's a door that says cannot be opened from this side when you walk up to it. Like, that's pretty much
You maybe lose things when you die, you know?
Yeah. But I don't know. I got a little nervous when there was the confusion earlier, and we thought that maybe Deck 13 was making this game, because I did not enjoy what I
No,
played
this
either
is
of the games.
NeoWiz.
But
who...
this looks too promising to be like the Surge, where it's just kind of a little bit of a clunky mess in my opinion. But I don't know. It looks cool enough for me to want to try it.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's on
it
Game Pass,
looks-
so
yeah.
I think this is certainly going to be a Game Pass Games Club game the month it comes out.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like we've got a couple of people in this group who are very interested in trying it out. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm excited to play this. I hope it's good. I like the idea of this, like, AA resurgence, it almost feels like,
Yeah.
of these strange
I also-
ideas getting greenlit and made.
It's a weird kind of thing, but like that P really do be standing for Pinocchio, and it kind of feels like that a little bit of a
That, I think, might be the most off-putting thing to me about this game. That
It's
this
being a
is some
Pinocchio
weird
game.
Pinocchio game.
But that's
Why is there so many Pinocchio things coming out in like the next year or two?
Wait,
I
what
find
do
it
you mean so many?
interesting.
What's going on with Pinocchio?
There's a Pinocchio movie and like
a live action
Well, that
Disney
one just looks
one?
bad. That one
yeah,
just
and
looks
I
bad.
Yeah.
swear I've heard of like a third thing too, but I can't think of what it is.
What I was going for is that it feels like a little like one entry in a non-existent resurgence of like the dark Snow White or the dark Alice in Wonderland,
Oh,
where it's just
God,
like
yeah.
that weird like reimagining of stuff that sometimes works. I think it works for Lies of P. But I don't know, for video games especially, I feel like it has a reputation of working rather well. Like there's some games that are just like you look at them and you read the title and it's just like, oh, that seems cool, and then you
Like-
play it, and then like an hour in you realize, oh my god, this is just like this is the Bible, but it's an action RPG with like everything's
God.
robots. What the heck? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they had made the Pinocchio influence subtler. I don't know.
I feel like it's already pretty subtle.
Pretty subtle.
Well, not the influence, but like the P definitely just stands for Pinocchio.
Oh no, yeah, they should have called it something different. I don't disagree with you there, but it does not feel Pinocchio when you look at it. At least I don't think so.
This gameplay
Unless-
I'm watching, boy, the person playing is
Having trouble.
yeah.
What else is new?
This is
What
like
else is new?
this is like
Welcome to
Doom,
game journalism.
you know, that Doom
All right.
gameplay.
We after that we saw Stranded Alien Dawn, which is another looks like a survival game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With open world and crafting, most likely.
Well, this one does have the unique thing of it looks to do more with actually creating like a community, which I think is a cool idea, but I don't know from the marketing materials yet if that means you're doing a community of NPCs or is this another like server-based thing. I really hope there are NPCs in this game because I think there's a huge lacking in survival games that have like base building of actually having characters to fill the base with. The only game I think that's gotten that right is Conan Exiles, which has like NPCs that you can get to on your side and have show up in Lorca's guards and stuff that look really cool.
I think there's a bit of it in my brain is just short-circuited. The space game that had a bad launch but people love nowadays.
X4?
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky?
Yes.
Yeah, No Man's Sky has settlements now.
Yeah.
But it's not really a game about surviving with a settlement. You can mostly ignore it.
Yeah, but I just mean like it does have that kind of thing into it now. There's so much in that game now. I bought it not that long ago and it was just like there's too much to do here.
This looks interesting. I think I do want to see some like solid gameplay of this first, because the idea of playing another game where you grapple with mysterious illnesses, extreme weather, and wildlife attacks, I don't know.
Sounding like Ark.
Kind of over it. I think plenty of people will still like this, but I need a hook for survival games now because of the way that they have happened is really not working for me. All right, after that, we saw the thing Deck 13's working on, Atlas Fallen. This is a neat-looking thing where you hunt big monsters using shape-shifting weapons and big sand abilities. Looks cool. Really reminding me of Anthem right now, though. And I don't know if that's
is it reminding you of Anthem, really?
The way it looks reminds me of Anthem. I don't think this is going to be an Anthem situation, but
no one deserves that.
Well,
because Deck 13 knows what they're doing at a minimum. They know how to make a good like loot game. So
are you talking
I
about,
expect
like,
this won't have the BioWare problems.
Like with it reminds you of Anthem. Are you talking about like the ruins, and then we have Techno Triangle,
the aesthetic
in the distance,
and like the ruins and the way that it looks like the bloom and stuff like that? I'm getting Anthem vibes, even though functionally they don't look very similar, but visually the way it's presented reminds me of Anthem.
The visuals for this, I react the same way to them as I did the visuals for, you guys remember Godfall, don't you? And I think back for that I was like, this looks like a GameSphere game that like they would have on in like Drake and Josh, and it would just be
isn't,
like
it isn't creating a
game.
setting for me. It's
the
I first and foremost thing is video game with super powered sand people, which is cool. I mean, I'm down for that, but every game like that that's come out recently has been a dumpster fire. So I'm nervous because of that, not due to any fault of Deck 13. In fact, I really hope this game's good, because if it is, that sand gliding looks very fun. And I want to sand glide around and smash things with big hammers. That seems great.
I want to sand glide. I want to possibly entomb people in a mummification.
And we do have confirmation it has a story campaign, which is the other thing I wanted to know. Is this like a weird free-to-play thing, or is this going to be like a regular release? I expect it's a regular release.
I was worrying it was going to be like
Dauntless.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I felt the Dauntless vibes too.
When I saw that big monster come out of the sand, I was like, this is Dauntless in the sand.
Please don't be free-to-play. Please. Because Deck 13's paid stuff is not scummy at all, and has been handled very well. So I hope it's just a regular full-price game that I'll happily scoop up. We saw Homeworld 3 gameplay, finally. It looks like Homeworld. Looks rad. Control some spaceships. Yeah.
I wish I could say I thought it looked rad.
Homeworld look good. You're probably not an RTS gamer.
I am absolutely not. I can appreciate its visual style, but it's not the game for me.
Homeworld is very much a space RTS person game. And I don't know that I'm that person either. I do think it looks very cool, though, because I'm a big fan of space games. So,
and the stories are usually really good. I like hearing people talk about the story for those games.
Yeah, Homeworld 3 has got a good story. Or Homeworld 1 and 2 have good stories. I hope 3 continues that trend. The other thing I'm excited about, Homeworld 3, the one thing that I always have an issue with in every space RTS or anything like it, having like a physics simulation that is actually somewhat accurate. I don't need most games to have this, but I think just one having like a physical based either ballistic simulation or something, or speed simulation would be super cool, because you then have to deal with all the crazy realities of being in space instead of just it being basically an underwater RTS or something, because everything ignores the fact that in space physics behave a little bit differently because you don't have to deal with gravity. So when you shoot a bullet, it doesn't drop. just keeps going.
There, no more arcs. That's it. No. They're gone.
It just gets faster until it hits something. So I think there's a lot of
it would be fun
things with that.
Play with that idea in some game.
Supposedly this is going to have some like physics-based simulations to it. So I hope that's the direction they're going. And even it doesn't have to like affect the gameplay. I think just visually seeing like a ship skate around a corner or something to where it looks like it's at a weird angle, because you can do that in space and have the weird tower ships instead of having the ships that are like flat like we see in most other media. Super cool. Give me some Expanse style ship combat here. Speaking of space, we saw Honkai Star Rail, which is
it's a train. It's in space. I love it.
I'm like so split on this because I've played Genshin Impact. This is from Hoyoverse, who does Genshin. They're doing the other like urban
and they say it's
brawler.
A tactical role-playing game.
This is a JRPG, a strategy like JRPG type thing that I believe is free to play. I'm like oddly interested in this because the trailer had really good vibes. Like this idea of there's like a space noble, and the space noble's telling you did something wrong, and they're gonna like murder someone close to you, and you have a premonition about it, and your space train jumps through space. That's cool. That's a cool idea.
Space train.
I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. Yeah, I hope there's enough meat on this to, even if you're playing it free to play, it has a good story or something. Because I think Genshin largely does. So I don't see them not having that, but I do hope that they limit the amount I have to interact with whatever free to play systems are here. That'd be nice. I don't trust that it will happen, but alright. After that, we saw High on Life with a solid chunk of gameplay. We had a whole boss fight where they fight a bounty hunter bug.
It looks fun.
I love the fact that you reload guns through their mouths.
Yep.
That they talk to you.
I think the humor in this trailer, I hope it was tuned up a little bit, because it was starting to grate a tiny bit. It was just constant noise, so I hope they add some more like dead space between lines, so they hit a little bit harder, and it's not just constant bickering of your weapons. But yeah, I think the humor was largely landing well. The boss fight looked fun. Lots of cool mechanics. I just think that the person playing seemed to be doing too good, because they had to keep stopping and not shooting at the boss so that the whole fight would play out, which was very funny. Yeah, I think it looks fun.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna pick that one up.
It's on Game Pass too, so.
Oh, then I'll definitely play it.
Another neat looking thing. Then the Expanse Telltale game got shown.
I'm very intrigued to see how the new revived Telltale does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is largely a test of that. The reception of this game feels like it's going to be a groundhog of Groundhog Day for Telltale 2, Electric Boogaloo. I hope this is good, because I like the Expanse. I think the exploration idea here of it basically being set on a destroyed ship that you have to like go through 0G to get to different parts of it and figure out what happened, and almost more like a mystery going on than an actual regular Telltale story. Super interesting to me. This seems like it's going to be pretty unique. I'm curious how it's going to work, because you are playing a character from the show and the books in this game, and it's set as a prequel, so I think that's going to lessen the tension no matter what, because you know you're not going to die during the game.
Well, that's the same thing that they did for boy, I'm just not coming up with names. Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, so I wonder, there's a lot of ways to get around it, but I hope they don't rely on tension of your character getting killed, because that won't work if they do, because she's in the other stuff. So I hope they find other ways to create tension and like have a strong supporting cast and stuff like that. Yeah, that's about all I wanted to say about this, unless anyone else has stuff to add about the Expanse. Moving on to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game.
This might be one of the wackiest announcements that I thought came up.
I have to wonder what the player base for this is going to look like. So this is an asymmetric 3 versus 7. So it's a 10-player in a round, 3 versus 7 horror online game. These are popular right now, but they tend to die very quickly unless they are Dead by Daylight.
Yep. Yeah.
So I hope this has enough of a player base to stick around.
I'm very curious about the 3 versus 7. Because I don't
think
that's
a big player number.
Yeah, and I think that might help depending on the way they do this. Because I think that I was talking to a friend about this like a week ago too. Dead by Daylight survives because like they got the balancing right.
Yeah.
It's not too easy for either party, and all the other ones I have, and it's both kind of fun for both sides. A lot of the other ones that have come out, I've seen, it seems like that balance just wasn't there, and so it just died off.
Yep. I do think this has potential, because I like the idea of it being not just one monster, but you're dealing with 3, so there's actual, like, tactics that can happen here. That you have to play around, of like, you could have a coordinated team being that 3, and that will kind of probably add to that horror atmosphere a little bit, which I like the idea of.
I also assume with 3 that just one of them won't be that powerful.
Yeah, it feels like you're going to need to have like coordination for this, which I think is a cool idea. It feels very different than the other horror games that have been succeeding lately. Is they're almost all like 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5, or something like that. Very few that I've seen are any kind of team-based thing. So that's the biggest exciting thing for me. I am so curious how many people here are Cult of Killer Clowns fans. Like,
I mean,
like,
I think it's
hyper specific.
I want to know, like, somebody like went to MGM and they're like, we've got a pitch for a game. And they're like, okay, you want James Bond. We already loaned it out to a couple people. This gotta be pretty solid. You know, we care about this IP. And they're like, no. We're talking about killer clowns from outer space. And somebody was like, wait, we produced that movie?
Sure, here's the license.
They go, yeah.
Like, you want the license for that? Sure.
$5 in a taco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like what happened here. Yeah, I'm so curious to see what this is like when it releases. All right, moving on. Scars Above is another cool space game.
It looks cool, and then they went up close to the faces, and it looks like Mass Effect Andromeda.
This does feel like it's a ways out. Let me see if I can figure out what the team here is. Mad Head Games is, I believe, a development that has not worked on something in a very long time. They've been like a support studio.
I'm on their Steam page right now, and it literally looks like almost all of their games are point and click.
Point and click hidden objects.
What?
So,
but
it's been a while since they've put something out. So this feels like they were hunkering down on this for a while. Maybe it'll come out well. Because we've seen studios like this have hits when they come out. So I'm not worried that there's no possibility of a
Dead by
success here.
Daylight was made by a company that behavior made a lot of, not necessarily bad, but like they seem to make a lot of games that was when Disney would come by and say, we want a DS game to tie into our thing.
We saw a pre-alpha gameplay video of this game last year.
Really?
Like, this is not the first time that we've seen this game. And largely it looks okay. It kind of reminds me of Outriders, which feels really good to play. So I hope this is working well and not very poorly. It could go either way.
Find out when it comes out in 10 years.
All right. We then saw Weird Song, which was a strange historical fantasy RPG about occult things. I'm always into weird occult games.
This sounds super cool.
Oh, from a bunch of Bethesda developers. And
yeah, there's a packed team behind this. The lack of any actual footage, of course, is always nerve-wracking. But I think this, to me, really felt like the Join Our Team game trailer. This was like the please look us up, and if you want to work here, join the team. Because I don't think this is going to come out for a while.
It doesn't look like it, yeah.
I'm excited to see it, though, because I'm always down for more RPGs of any kind. All right, we saw Gotham Knights again.
We're seeing a lot of Gotham Knights.
I think this trailer looked better than the last one.
I agree. This made me actually kind of excited for it.
I'm so on the fence about this game, because I think when they show Nightwing and they show the villains, it looks good. When they show Red Hood, I get really confused as to why Red Hood has magic powers and guns that don't kill people, and it looks just... I think there's going to be a lot of jumps in the process there.
I don't think I'm going to play as Red Hood.
Yeah, and I know Red Hood has magic powers and some of the comic stuff. I understand that.
He doesn't.
Doesn't he? I know he hasn't won because someone told me this. That was like they were adamant that he had magic powers in one of the comic books.
I don't know.
So I'm
who
sure
told you
in
that,
one
man.
thing somewhere he has magic powers, but this is never what I think anyone thinks of when they think of Red Hood.
Boy, I'm gonna have to
His
look
green
that up
magic
because
powers.
I consider myself quite a comic book nerd. And
They could have been lying to me because they want me to play this game with them. That is entirely possible.
I want to play this game. If you guys play this on the podcast, I will play it. Like,
if you want to play this, I'm more likely to play this game if I know people that want to play it.
I will probably play it for my own podcast that doesn't ever have episodes coming out. But
nice.
Good.
I think it could be fun. I just really want to know. I'm not as negative on this game as Wyatt is. Wyatt has had some real this looks real bad moments with it.
Sometimes it does look real bad. I think that where I am right now on this game is that obviously I love Batman. I'm a big. You can probably even see a Robin in the background.
I also believe
and there's another one over there and a Batman
right
over there.
Before this is in the Arkham universe of the old games.
It is not in the Arkham.
Or am I thinking of Suicide Squad? Or yeah,
you're probably thinking of that. I don't know.
I think I'm thinking of Suicide Squad.
But Gotham Knights is not in the same universe.
Yeah, Suicide Squad is in the same universe. Okay, that's what.
Okay, that'll be very interesting. I don't want to get into that right now, though. But where I am with this game right now,
the fact that this is a confusing thing is a detriment to these games.
Yeah, they should not have included the word knight in this title.
Yeah. This is hard to know.
Arkham Knight was the last game to come out in the Arkham series. Anyway, where I am with this game right now is that, like, from what I've seen of the gameplay, some of it looks really good. Sometimes it looks a little clunky. And so I just want to get my hands on it and give it a try. If there was like a beta, that would be fantastic.
I think that's the best case scenario for this if it plays well, is to have a demo or a beta or something so that people can try it out. So I really hope it's not another Avengers. All right, moving past Gotham Knights to another game that like just kind of showed up and I thought looked really cool, Where Winds Meet.
Yeah.
Which is an action game set in the Northern Song Dynasty, which is just like I'm always down for these like Chinese RPGs and action games to make it over to the West, because I've been playing a few of them of just like really popular franchises in China that never make it to the West outside of recently. They're really good. They're like largely extremely competent action games that just don't tend to come out here. So I'm hoping this is along those lines because it looked fun. You had like a grappling hook and could do some cool stuff. It gave me Tenchu vibes, and I'm always down for Tenchu vibes. Just seemed fun. Looked like a good little Ghost of Tsushima style action game, which I think is just a good thing to compare yourself to. Had a really good sense of scale. The like rooftop running looked fun. So.
And then there's Hideo Kojima's podcast.
Yeah.
Isn't this not his first podcast? Didn't we go through this like?
This is his first like English
6 months
available
ago?
one.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay. I definitely
it's being
had seen
live
something
translated to English on Spotify.
Okay. I wonder if it's the same one, because I remember seeing something about him having a podcast on Spotify like 6 months ago, but it was only in Japanese.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is the same thing.
All right. Rapid fire of a few things that I don't think any of us are going to have a lot to say about. Park Beyond. It's a park creating game where you can make impossible things. Cool. You got Warhammer 40k Darktide. We're definitely, at least Wyatt and I are definitely going to play this game. So we'll have a big blowout when that comes out to talk about it.
Rope me in here.
We'll rope you in. We'll do a Darktide episode. That'll be fun. Blacktail, which is a like witchcraft choose your own RPG looking thing that I don't know, looks cool. You get to choose if you're like a good witch or a bad witch, and you got a bow. That's a neat vibe. But we don't know much else about this game, so moving past it. Anything else to think about those few games?
Not about those ones.
I could talk about Darktide all day, but I'm not going to.
We'll save it because we have too much to say about Warhammer, I'm sure. Crossfire X got a new thing shown, and Dorfromantic also got stuff shown. So those are just like updates to existing games. Phantom Hellcat is the next like new thing, which was I love the presentation of this. It had a very good sense of showcasing what it looked like, which is this. It's an action game with like a hacking slashing platformer thing. For a brief second, I thought this might be an Alice sequel.
God, it
There
kind of
was
looks
like
like
a quarter of a second where it kind of looked like it, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Is this like a spiritual successor to Alice, Madness Returns, or something like that?" Which would be rad. It does still look very good, so I'm in on this. I think this looks like a lot of fun with its hack and slashy combat. Mostly just because I want more games with hack and slashy combat, and this is reminding me a lot of Alice Madness Returns, which is a very fun game. So
I mean, no, the sequel for that is never coming out.
it'll come out in 2060.
Yes.
It'll be
Come out
American
about the same
McGee's
time
dying
of
wish.
everywhere.
Yep. So I'm excited about
Half-Life
Hellcat.
3.
I'd like to see more of it. All right. We saw the finals, which is a combat game show.
This is another one of those things where I just like had no idea what was happening. They were
It
just like, come and join the finals. The finals, everyone knows what the finals is, guys. Come on, it's the finals. And
The
trailer
Renaissance
was
men are coming into town.
See, I think if you're
Yes,
going to do
yeah.
that kind of trailer, you need to have a name like Monday Night Combat, the old classic sports
Yeah.
combat game, where you hear Monday Night Combat, you go, oh, it's Monday Night Football, but it's a combat game. I
Yeah,
instantly
exactly.
understand that. I don't instantly understand the finals. I start to think of like school, and that's a weird
Yeah.
thing to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, normally when I hear finals, I'm like, oh god.
I also think the
Yeah.
art style here is aiming pretty realistic, which is, I think, a
Strange.
mistake if you're going for this sports vibe. I think you need to really go out there.
Yeah, that like I don't know. It would have worked more, I think, if they actually like showed what the game was and not just a bunch of splashes of colors and CG that tells me nothing. For a second, I thought this was actually the X Dice team's new game because it had that that
I see why you
like
would think that.
CMYK like color blocking and like a logo, and I was like, oh, is that them? And then it literally just kind of looked the exact same, but then it just like it was like PvP stuff, and I was like, no, because that game is not PvP, that's PvE. But I literally don't know what to think
Yeah,
about this. It's
This is
just
one of the
finals.
bizarre Gamescom things.
Mm.
All right. That's the Gamescom stuff. That's the rundown of all the interesting things from opening night live. We saw some other stuff over the course of that week of some interesting teasers and whatnot have happened. A lot of games got updates. The one I want to notably mention, and I know there's one Brett's going to want to notably mention, Wo Long Fallen Dynasty got a gameplay trailer. And it looks real fun. You can summon a phoenix, and that's always rad. So, yeah, I think this looks notably different from Neo, which is a good choice. And I don't know, kind of it reminds me of what a Team Ninja take on something like Sekiro, but with hyper stylized magic. At the same time, it looks a little bit more actiony, which very down for. And this looks very good. I don't know if
A lot
anyone
of
else
good,
thinks it looks good.
I mean, I don't really remember the trailer compared to the other ones. To be honest, there were a lot of games that looked like this
Yeah.
that are coming out.
That's fair.
In the next couple months, I feel like. But not to say that any of them look bad. I know it's just a lot that have seemed to have at least, without playing them, visually nailed the sort of like third-person 3D action combat in this
Yeah,
same exact setting kind of thing.
for sure. It is very similar to Winds Meet already.
Yeah, yeah.
From that trailer. All right. Well, Brett, you got your announcement. I'm sure you want to mention.
The AEW flew over with their little wrestling ring and a couple of their like bottom of the card guys to come
Evil
and
Uno was hanging out. It was
it brings a tear to my eye to call Evil Uno and Colt Cabana bottom of the card, but they don't do anything with them. So I guess they're at Gamescom. They I think they had a couple actual like matches there too, which is cute and fun. But they were showing off their new game, Fight Forever, and this just looks like a wrestling game.
we finally
I
seen
think
some like actual full matches, and it looks good.
Yeah,
it looks
it
like a
looks-
game.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a I'm like this looks like a game that I am going to be able to hand a controller to the biggest Orange Cassidy fan on the planet, my dad,
and they will understand.
Yeah, because it's literally like, here's your punch button, here's your kick button, and some combination of them plus the other things will just fill out the rest. They showed like a move screen of all of Kenny Omega's moves. He properly has 2/3 of it full of finishers because that is Kenny Omega.
Oh my god.
But like, it's worth pointing out too that like the actual matches looked like just quick and snappy, fun, arcadey wrestling,
Yeah.
which I think is important. I feel like that's a niche for 3D wrestling games that at least doesn't really exist yet. Because
Especially big
WWE
budget.
games, yeah, the 2K games kind of exist in like a, they're not quite simulation, but like sometimes you're like,
you can't just hand a controller to somebody and expect them to be able to play those games.
Yeah,
Against anyone who knows how to play them, because you got to remember a lot of stuff.
Yeah, where with this, it's like, yeah, sure, okay. Like if you're just looking at it, you can see Adam Cole's kind of like snapping into positions all over the place to do moves right, but at the same time, those moves are coming out super fast, and the animations for them look
They look very
pretty
slick.
good. Yeah.
They got the
So I
sound
don't
right
know.
too. It's got some
Yeah.
proper slamming noises, which is great to see.
Yeah, this game looks like it's just going to be exactly, again, as we've said, probably like 5 weeks in a row by this point. It looks exactly what a wrestling game should be, which is dumb fun and nothing else. That's exactly what it needs to be. I don't know. Like they've already had the things confirmed that they have like a career mode. They have all those mini games. I mean, it's been rounded out. That's it. All it needs to do is come out. I mean, I have a release date still, so it's probably not this year. I don't know. I don't think we have an exact number date. I feel like they might be saying still late 2022, but you know,
We'll see.
we're coming up on September, so I don't know about that, Tony Khan, but we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not worried about it.
Looks fun. All right, and there's one other big pair of announcements, Brett, that I think we have to mention here. Spiritual successors to Wild Hearts and Shadow Hearts.
Wild Arms and Shadow Hearts.
Oh yeah, Wild Arms and Wild Hearts. And Shadow Hearts have been announced and are getting Kickstarters soon, called Armed Fantasia and Pennyblood.
Mm-hmm.
They look good.
Weird. Cool.
They I don't know if you've seen. I forget if what I sent to you was a trailer, just like a snippet of gameplay around, but I don't think that trailer's been officially uploaded. I have no idea where that person found it. But it's like this is like my dream come true, because Wild Arms is just it's one of, if not the coolest JRPG series that has been long dormant ever since the heyday of when things in the genre were actually creative in the AAA space and not just like the same thing over and over again. And it just looks exactly like you would expect a modern Wild Arms game to look. I think I would maybe even like imagine that they might even have some of the same art people on it, because I know the person running the Kickstarter, which starts well, it'll be tomorrow for us recording this because it starts on the 29th, but it'll be a couple days in by the time this gets uploaded. The person starting the Kickstarter on the Wild Arms side is the guy who wrote the scenario for all 5 games, which all of them are like the most like dumb, hot-blooded, best friends save the world, cowboys, anime stories you could possibly imagine, but you get to play them, so they're amazing. And on the Shadow Hearts side, which I still need to finish Shadow Hearts 1, but that game is super cool, and I know a lot of people are really excited about the Pennyblood side of things too, because I mean, whoever thought that Shadow Hearts was coming back? I think was the director of the 3rd Shadow Hearts game is on the Shadow Hearts side of things for this, but I pretty reasonable goal of $750,000 for a Kickstarter for these games, and it seems like if they're able to put like a little gameplay mock-up of Armed Fantasia together, you know, they at least have some assets done already. And this is right off the tail of like the Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes game. I think just obliterated the Kickstarter the second that it like got notoriety. yeah, I'm gonna be forking over some cash to these guys because I need to see my child come back.
I mean, these both just look rad. From someone who I have not played Shadowhearts or Wild Arms. I intend to, but just haven't gotten to it yet, and they look very good. Like, these are striking things. The art style, especially for Armed Fantasia, looks very good.
Yeah,
like, they're nailing that like Guilty Gear type of character model.
Exactly.
Which just looks very seamless against the environments they have, which is always the problem of JRPGs, is they just don't look good. Now,
sometimes, yeah,
it looks pretty good. It looks like the art style fits, which is good to see. All right, that's the Gamescom roundup. We survived it. We got through. We even talked about Sonic Frontiers without tearing each other to pieces.
I don't think any of us were enthusiastic about Sonic enough for that to happen.
I was gonna say, I'd
be more just to stop it, to not think about Sonic for more than a few seconds. Yep. There is a thing we do at the end of the show on these episodes. We do shout-outs. We like to shout out a cool thing. And I'm going to forewarn you that I suspect Alex and I are going to take a good amount of time. So, you two, go ahead and take it away first and get your short little nothing shout-outs out of the way.
Me, Alex, right?
Yeah, you, Alex.
Okay, I think we're chatting about the same thing.
God. Well then, Alex LaBelle, would you like to go first?
Sure. This is an anti-shout-out.
Oh no!
To
what have I done?
I don't want to have to fish the box out of the trash. To the makers of the pizza that I had today for dinner. It was gross and solid and cardboardy.
Oh, rest in peace, pizza makers.
An affront to Italy, truly. God. Well, my shout out is I shout out to Peter Hook and the Light, which is the guys the concert that I went to last night, which is why I've been a little tired and woozy today. They played the entirety of both Joy Division albums because Peter Hook is the original bassist of Joy Division.
Huh. I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yeah. It was amazing. They finished with Level Terrace Apart, and it was probably the most magical experience of my life, seeing two like huge men in baseball caps silhouetted in front of me, just almost beating the crap out of each other to the music because they were so happy that it was happening. It was wonderful.
That does sound like an awesome concert.
It was super sick, yeah.
All right, Alex, we played a thing.
We did. And I played a lot more of it than we played together.
Oh, I played a lot more of it beforehand.
Yeah, me too.
Total War Warhammer 3 had a rough launch, to my understanding. It just came out with its big 2.0 update, which included a thing called Immortal Empires, which is every single faction from Total War Warhammer 1 and Total War Warhammer 2, and all the DLC is now included in Immortal Empires if you own them in the respective games. You have to own all 3 games to be able to play. They're all on a huge sale right now. And when you play this map, there are 270-something factions, 280, I think, factions on the board. Somehow, the turn timer, super short. It's very quick and snappy. I don't know how they've done it.
I think it's hardly any longer than it was in Total War Warhammer 2.
I'd like it to be faster than Warhammer 2. I went back and ran a test because I wasn't sure, and it is faster.
I don't have like the hard drive space to go back and test.
Oh, I immediately deleted it. I had to know for certain.
Yeah, it's great.
It's remarkable how well it runs. They have simultaneous co-op turns now.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It took the tedium out of playing co-op, which I have never tried in Total War Warhammer before. Because I just was like, look, Civ is bad enough.
It takes so long.
Yeah.
In co-op, and if you have to individually take turns, because a lot of people don't know, Total War is not just like an RTS. There is a whole campaign map half of the game where it's basically Civilization.
Yeah, you're basically playing Civilization, and then if you get to fights, and those are RTSs if you want them to be.
It's wild. It's such an insane thing that exists. And the fact that the map is so large that you cannot zoom out to even cover like a quarter of it is crazy. It's so big. There's so many things. It looks so good and it runs so well. And that's an insane combination of things.
Mhm.
And they listed it as a beta. They've publicly said this is
Yeah.
the beta release of this thing.
And
If this is the beta, I am so excited to see what the final release is.
yeah, there's
It looks
really
so
not
well.
that much I can think of that they would want to change.
There's like a few factions that have bad starting positions where they'll get murked
Yeah,
by
like the
6
dwarves.
enemies. The
I
one
was
specific
playing-
dwarf dude I played spawned right next to 4 factions that are immediately aggressive.
You
I
got
played,
the vampires, the Tomb Kings. Who else was there against you?
Vampire Counts, Tomb Kings, Khorne, and the Lizard Men, who you have to go kill because they're fighting your stuff, and the Greenskins, who's your first
Yeah.
enemy that you have to wipe out. So, a lot of bad in one area to take care of.
There's definitely some minor adjustments, but overall it's really good. And, I played Total War Warhammer 3 at launch, and it was good. But coming at it from 2, it felt a little like, oh, this
Anemic,
is kind of small
maybe.
and lacking. Yeah, and, there was nothing wrong with the game, in my opinion. It just, this adds so much.
There were 4 factions in the game, and now there are like 26, 23. So some high mid-20s number. So an insane amount of stuff to do. They're all very
Yeah.
different. And the fact that they've managed to get this running in a semi-balanced state is astounding.
One of the few things that seems unbalanced about it to me also is some of the factions have talent trees that kind of take into mind their original starting locations.
Yeah,
Like,
I
I
imagine
played
that'll get
Nurgle.
changed.
I played Nurgle, and there were some of the pretty early talent tree things are like, you get bonuses for fighting these guys or being in this environment. And I'm like, I am absolutely nowhere near any people or environment like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just useless to take them.
Yeah, but like that being the extent of the issues,
Yeah,
is
it
incredible.
runs seamlessly.
especially because Total War has a reputation for not running seamlessly when it launches.
Yeah.
It is a huge game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bonkers big. That's it. That's the shout out. That's the end of the show too. We made it all the way to the end. We talked about Gamescom. I'm sure we'll rile up any things that we missed, and Wyatt will, I'm sure, have some stuff to say about certain things when we get him back on. No podcast next week because schedules just do not line up, and the WrestleCast is happening. So expect the WrestleCast to be probably the week after Labor Day at some point during that week. You'll get a WrestleCast to talk about all the AEW All Out things that you desire to hear about.
Yeah, after the pay-per-view. We don't have...
Yeah, we're not...
Tony Khan did not give us enough time before the pay-per-view. We had no idea what the card was going to be until, like, a couple days ago. So
Yeah, it's unfortunate
I'm not
timing,
on home.
and I have to leave town right before the pay-per-view happens, which means our normal recording day for them is not available. So, only an after show this time. But we're still going to have a lot of fun. All right, that's the end of the show. Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice, YouTube and Twitch. See ya in 2 weeks.
Hey,
It's time for Gilbert Gottfried voices again.
I hope you enjoyed this cool experience.
Oh yes.